Someone says something about you, in front of everyone. Maybe it's a joke at your expense. Maybe it's a correction that didn't need an audience. Maybe it's a comment designed to make you look small while they look dominant. Whatever it was, the room shifts, eyes move toward you, and your body responds before your brain does. That moment, right there, is where most people lose. Not because of what the other person said, but because of what they do next. Public humiliation is a different kind of pain than a private insult. When someone disrespects you one-on-one, your ego takes a hit. When they do it in front of others, your social identity takes a hit. And those are not the same thing. Psychologists who study social behavior describe the concept of social self-preservation, the deep, instinctive need to protect how others perceive us. It's wired into us. Humans evolved in groups where reputation determined survival. Being seen as weak, foolish, or low status carried real consequences. That ancient wiring doesn't care that you're at a dinner table or a team meeting. The moment you're publicly diminished, your nervous system treats it like a threat. Your stress response activates, your thinking narrows, and the only thing your mind wants to do is restore your status, immediately. That urgency is where the mistake happens. Most people assume the worst response to public humiliation is exploding, screaming, cursing, making a scene. And yes, that's destructive. But that's not the response this is really about. The response that quietly destroys you is the desperate one. It's the over-explanation, the long, defensive speech where you try to prove they're wrong about you point by point. It's the shaky voice that argues too hard. The attempt to win back the room through sheer volume of words. Some people go cold instead. They match the humiliation with a cutting insult, trying to rebalance the social scale by tearing the other person down. Both of these feel satisfying for about 2 seconds. Then they don't. And here's the psychological reality underneath both of them. They signal that the comment landed. When you're humiliated in public, what you're actually experiencing is what psychologists call an ego threat, a direct challenge to how you see yourself and how others see you simultaneously. Research on self-evaluation and social identity consistently shows that ego threats trigger a need for immediate restoration. The natural response is to fight back or justify yourself at length, because silence feels like agreement and retreat feels like defeat. There's another force working against you in that moment: reactance. When your sense of control is threatened, your mind pushes hard to reclaim it. That internal pressure can feel like confidence. It can feel like standing up for yourself. But under the surface, it's panic wearing a mask. The person who verbally attacks back or launches into a lengthy self-defense isn't responding from a place of strength. They're responding from a place of fear. Specifically, the fear that the group now sees them the way the humiliator framed them. That fear is understandable, but acting from it is a trap. When you over-defend or retaliate emotionally, something subtle happens in the room. The group, consciously or not, notices that the comment affected you enough to make you lose composure. Even if everyone agrees the comment was unfair, watching you spiral slightly shifts the social dynamic. The original humiliation now has a second act, and you're performing it. The person who humiliated you wanted a reaction. An emotional reaction proves the comment had power. And power over someone's emotions, in a social setting, is exactly what they were seeking. There's also the problem of memory. People forget what was said. They remember how you responded. A composed reaction gets remembered as dignity. A desperate one gets remembered as weakness, regardless of who was in the wrong. You can win the argument and lose the room at the same time. Emotional control under social pressure is not the same thing as being passive. This distinction matters. Staying calm is not the same as accepting disrespect. Choosing your words carefully is not the same as having nothing to say. The goal is not to absorb the humiliation quietly. The goal is to respond from a position of actual strength rather than reactive emotion. What does that look like? First, slow down. Not dramatically, just a breath. A pause that's long enough to let your nervous system drop out of threat mode and back into rational thinking. In practice, this is only a few seconds, but those seconds are the difference between a response you own and one that owns you. Second, respond briefly and with weight. Not a long speech, not an insult. 1 or 2 sentences that address what happened without performing distress. If someone mocks your idea in a meeting, you don't need to defend the idea in front of everyone. You might simply say, "That's a perspective. I'm comfortable with my reasoning." Then move on. No visible wound, no invitation to continue. If someone makes a cutting personal comment in a group, you can look at them calmly and say, "That was unnecessary." Not loudly, not with shaking hands, just clearly. Then you redirect your attention elsewhere, signaling that the subject is closed, on your terms. If it's a comment disguised as a joke, you don't have to play along and you don't have to argue. A flat, quiet, "That one didn't land for me," said without aggression, lets the room know you noticed, you're unbothered, and you don't need their validation to feel secure. The common thread across all of these is that you are not chasing the approval of the room. You're not trying to win anyone over. You're simply showing, through your tone and your stillness, that the comment didn't reach the part of you the other person was aiming for. That is what rattles a person who humiliates publicly. Not rage, not a comeback, composure they can't crack. The real question public humiliation forces you to answer is this: whose opinion of you is most authoritative in that moment? If it's the room, you'll panic and perform. If it's the person who humiliated you, you'll either collapse or lash out. But if it's yours, you'll respond like someone who already knows who they are and doesn't need the situation to confirm it. Self-respect under pressure is not built in the calm moments. It's built in exactly this kind of moment, when someone tries to define you publicly and you choose not to let that definition stick. That doesn't mean you won't feel the sting. You will. Feeling hurt when someone disrespects you in front of people you know is a human response, not a weakness. What separates emotional intelligence from emotional reactivity is not the absence of feeling. It's what you do while you're feeling it. The person who humiliated you made one move. Your response determines whether that was the last move of the moment, or the first move in a longer spiral you didn't need to enter. Choose the response that you'll still respect yourself for tomorrow. That's not just good social strategy. That's the practice of someone who genuinely knows their own worth.